Good afternoon. My name is Stacy Spector, and I'm a partner at Kirschenbaum and Kirschenbaum in Garden City, New York. Thank you for joining us today. Just a little bit of background about me. I've been practicing real estate for over 20 years. My practice includes representations of buyers, sellers, lenders, and investors in all aspects of their real estate transactions. Today, we are going to discuss real property investments. There are a lot of opportunities to invest in real estate, and it is important to know what you're getting into. That's why you should consult an attorney who can advise you on all aspects and be sure that you're protected as much as possible. The first thing that you should ask yourself is, what are you looking to achieve with a particular piece of property? And how long do you plan on holding this property? If you're looking for more of a long-term investment, it's important to be aware that you may not see a return on your investment for many, many years, typically once the property sells. If you're thinking about more of a shorter-term investment, it's crucial to know the history and the status of the property. For example, you may want to know what the applicable zoning laws and building department rules and regulations are, because you don't want to be in a position where you're now responsible to spend money unexpectedly on bringing a property into compliance with the building codes. Or even worst case scenario, having to commence a variance or zoning proceeding, which can be extremely timely and also costly. Another issue to be aware of is whether you plan on renting out the property, which tends to be common with investment properties. In that case, you're going to be taking on the role of a landlord, which comes with a whole new set of obligations and responsibilities. For a rental property, it's prudent to consult with a real estate attorney because you'll need the attorney to draw up an appropriate lease agreement and to make sure that your interests are preserved. You should also consider the pros and cons of buying new property or new construction versus an existing or older property. With older properties, there is a higher likelihood that issues will come up in terms of potential repairs and maintenance of the property. So this is definitely something to keep in mind. You should be sure that you have an attorney draft a contract which covers all of these terms. Some questions that you should ask your attorney are, how are you going to hold the property? Are you going to hold the property individually, or are you going to set up an LLC or another type of corporate structure? Your attorney can guide you on the advantages and disadvantages of each of these options. Another thing that you should ask is, do you plan on having any partners invest in the property with you? And what things to consider when there are other investors involved. You need to be sure that the contract your attorney prepares reflects all of the agreements between all of the potential partners. This could help prevent any disputes among partners down the road, and it's important that everything is well documented and agreed upon in writing. Another thing that you want to be aware of is, what priority will you have in this property and how to secure your interests. You can make sure that your attorney prepares a security agreement, a promissory note, and a mortgage to be filed against the property. This way, your investment is protected. You should also discuss with your lawyer the need for a personal guarantee agreement. Another thing to consider is what potential obstacles there may be with a property. There could be zoning issues, defective titles, liens that you're unaware of, and your attorney should make sure to order a title search to confirm if there are already any existing liens on the property, and so you can see if there are any defects in the title. And this should definitely be done before you finalize any investments. It's also important to do a cost-benefit analysis. While real estate investments can be financially rewarding, there are risks involved, like any investment, and you want to be sure that the property in question will not pose risks that outweigh the potential return on your investment. These are all issues to discuss with your lawyer at the start of the process. The next issue to be aware of is if your investment involves lending money to a third party, it's necessary to have the proper agreements in place. A security agreement is a contract that grants the lender a security interest in the borrower's property. The property will serve as the collateral for the loan. This agreement will identify the terms of the loan, what happens in the event of a default, and the default process. You also would need a promissory note, which is the document where the borrower agrees to repay the loan. The security agreement and promissory note will include the interest rate and the term of the loan. There should also be an amortization schedule or repayment schedule attached to the agreements. This schedule will include the commencement date, the maturity date, and the monthly payment due, which will include principal and interest. Something that you should understand and be aware of is that secured positions do vary by state. New York, for example, is a race notice jurisdiction, meaning a validly legal real property owner is the party who first records the deed and does not have knowledge of the property's previous conveyance to a third party. This means that the first priority in connection with mortgages and other security interests indicates valid legal ownership of the property. This is why it's extremely important to make sure that your security interest documentation is recorded in the county clerk's office where the property is located. Your attorney, with the assistance of the title company, will ensure your agreements are recorded properly. Next topic we're going to discuss is return on investment risks. Investing in real estate does not come without risks. Here are some things that you want to consider before making an investment in property. The first item is negative cash flow. A financial crisis or economic down cycle can lead to job loss and more conservative spending habits. This affects the real estate market, both residential and commercial, by decreasing property values, sometimes significantly. While this may be a promising time to make an investment, it would not be a good time to seek to cash out on your investment. There could also be liquidity risks. During the COVID-19 pandemic, for example, many investors were expecting a return on their investment, but were unable to dispose of these properties, which ultimately resulted in a loss when they eventually went to sell the property. There are also regulatory risks. Zoning regulations may change from time to time, and it's key to be aware of any changes because this will impact how you can use and maintain your property. The different local building departments implement their own rules and procedures. For example, if the property is being used for office purposes, you need to be sure that the zoning allows for commercial use in the town where the property is located. If you're renting out a property, there are landlord and tenant laws that affect the terms upon which you can rent that particular property. And you will have to comply with certain landlord provisions as well, which do vary by state and by town. This is one of the many reasons why you should be speaking to your real estate attorney from the beginning stages and all along the way. We hope that this webinar was informative. We thank you for joining us today. Please reach out to me for any questions about any of your real estate transactions. We're here to help with all real estate opportunities. And we look forward to speaking to you again soon. Thank you.